So thank you so much for having me. I'm waiting for my slides to come up behind me, and when they come up, maybe I'll start talking aerospace. But in the interim, a huge thank you to Techplus for inviting me here. You guys are doing amazing, amazing work. For those who don't know, there's a billboard right outside the Federal Palace Hotel that has a picture of me and Silas. And I saw it and I started thinking Kanye's song, I Wonder. And I was like, and I'm back on my grind. A psychic in my lifeline told me in my lifetime my name would help light up the Nigerian skyline. And that's why I'm. So I'm so honored. It's so incredible. And I lived not too far from here when I was a kid in some flats around the corner. So it's an honor, and I hope I can do justice and earn the privilege of this. The title of the talk that's on the agenda is there a future for an African space program, right? Manned flight, sending people out of the Earth's atmosphere. And that's interesting, right? Before you get there are a number of things, right? Before anyone gets there are a number of things. So what I want to do today really is demystify this thing called aerospace that just seems nebulous, that just seems intractable, that is like reserved for people like countries in the US, countries in Germany, countries in Europe. It's not this really nebulous thing, and it's very, very multifaceted. And so I want to pick on a few aspects of it that could relate to Africa and Nigeria as a case study, because that's where we are, right? And then also, I have some swag. I have some NASA swag. People go crazy for these things, right? They go crazy for things like stickers. I don't know why, but they go really crazy for them. So if we get some audience participation, I might share some stuff. And I have a really cool poster, too. So this is primarily the theme of my talk, Aerospace in Africa, leveraging solutions, and how can we utilize existing solutions, existing capabilities, and technologies that have been developed for the African continent. And I'll just kind of show some examples and, get us engaged, get us start talking and see what that conversation is like before we start getting to space, okay? So when people hear aerospace, what do they typically think? Any takers? What do you think? What do you think when you hear aerospace? Say something. Astronauts, big one. I'm an aerospace engineer, and I know someone that sees me and shouts, astronauts. I'm like, I'm not an astronaut, I'm an engineer, right? Someone actually wrote a book that says, I work at NASA, but I'm not an astronaut. There are a lot of things that go into it before you become an astronaut. How do you develop these capabilities, right? So this is what people think when they hear aerospace. Someone flying, just hanging up there and looking down. How realistic is this? Is it realistic? No. So you get a gift. So it's not realistic, right? How did he get up there and just hang out there staring down? But it's an interesting picture that I got off the internet, right? It's a very interesting picture. And he's looking down. It's one of the things I want to say with aerospace. It's not just about looking up. It's about when you're up there, what is it about what you're seeing down here that can improve the quality of your life on Earth? That can help with traffic issues, that can help with agriculture, safety, security, right? So you can be up there and utilize the tools that you have from up there to look down. So anyway, this is a cool picture. So aerospace is literally the fusion of aero and space, right? Aero and space, planes and space. So who knows what NASA was before it became NASA? Does anyone know? Anyone ever heard of anything before NASA? What was NASA? Why was there a NASA in the first place? So in 1903, the Wright brothers demonstrated the first powered flight, right? Who ever heard of the Wright brothers that flew for the first time? Yeah, we know the Wright brothers. That was in 1903. But after the end of World War I, the United States was still behind, Europe in particular, right, when it came to airplane technology. And you know what happens when the U.S. is behind and they feel like other people are ahead of them? What do? What does the U.S. do when it's behind? Congress takes action. No, it can't be. We can't be behind. Who was Europe? How dare they? Who are the Germans? And Congress passes a law, right? They pass this act. And so a council was formed called NACA. NACA, the National Advisory Council for Aeronautics, a completely independent government entity that reported directly to the president and was kind of collating all the efforts in aeronautics and planes, who's doing what in planes, who's making them fly around the country, and reporting directly to the president of the United States. That law went in and NACA was developed. Then, in the 50s, something happened. Who knows what was happening in the 50s in terms of aerospace? Someone take a guess. Y'all are killing me. Guess, what was happening in terms of aerospace? Who said it? The space race. 2 people said it here, so something for you. The space race, something crazy happened. The Russians launched a satellite in 1957, I believe. They launched Sputnik. People started to freak out, right? People are getting scared. You've launched a satellite. Doesn't mean you can see me in my backyard. What does that mean? So again, the United States freaked out, right? They freak out, pass a law. Okay, now we're going to have the National Aeronautics and Space Administration that is tasked with doing civilian human flight, robotics applications for space flight, and continue the aeronautics research. So I'm telling you the story to tell you that it's more than just space. There are a lot of things that go into it from the aero and the space side, and that's kind of what I want to show you today as applied to Africa. So when you think about aeronautics, right, I'm going to split it. I'm going to do this taxonomy and say aeronautics can be split into piloted flight. So when you get on a plane and you're going somewhere, a pilot is flying you, right? He might have some help. That might be autopilot, but that can be considered piloted flight, right? Are you with me? Yes. But then when a thing is flying on its own, even though sometimes it might be a remote controller controlling it, we can consider that autonomous, unmanned, unpiloted flight, right? Very good. So we're going to split it. And when you think about piloted flight, I have this video that's supposed to come up in 3, 2, 1, but it's not. But anyway, so when you think about piloted flight, you just think about planes, stuff that we're used to, and and all of that. Let's see if this plays. Okay, let's skip that. But then let's go into autonomous flight. That's the fun stuff. That's what everyone's talking about. Drones, right? There's this kind of connotation with drones. So I don't really like that word. Because what do people think when they hear drone? What's the word that follows drone? If you hear the word drone. Strike. Drone strike. Drone attack. Right? And that's primarily military. Right? But we're thinking about the civilian applications for these things. We're not trying to kill anybody. I mean, not right now. I'm not in this room to tell you about killing anybody. Let me face my own. But drone strikes, that's what people associate. So we're going to kind of flip it a little because I want us to kind of reorient ourselves with the existing capabilities that are out there. What do they mean for us? So let's call them UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, right? And what kind of applications could they have for us? So I think this skipped ahead a little, but basically there are a number of applications for UAVs. The first one that I'm going to show here as it relates to Africa is this article I found on Reuters. And they say that researchers use drones to pilot a new tool to fight malaria. About how many % of malaria cases are found in sub-Saharan Africa? Who knows? How many percent? Techplus, you don't know. You came here, you don't know. 90 to 95% of malaria cases are found in sub-Saharan Africa. And so these researchers from the Netherlands went to Zanzibar and they're using this drone to spray a non-toxic material, this non-toxic thing, on the surface of water where mosquito larva and pupa will attach themselves. Who remembers larva and pupa from secondary school? It's useful. It's very useful. So, but then they're spraying with this non-toxic film, right? So that they wouldn't grow, they wouldn't develop. Malawi has actually also used UAVs to map out breeding grounds for mosquitoes. But then they're saying, oh, this thing is going to take it to the next level, these demonstrations. But here's what's particularly interesting about this. These researchers went to Zanzibar. They went to Zanzibar. Who knows why? Why didn't they come here? Why didn't they come here? Why wasn't Nigeria on their radar? Zanzibar has progressive laws on the use of UAVs. Do we even have laws on drone research? Do we even enable these things? Because all they want to do is test and fly, right? Do we even have laws? So if there's anyone in regulation here, these are the things you want to think about. You want to enable this environment, right? Do we even have laws on that? Another use of UAVs, or another kind of UAVs, is UAM, urban air mobility. Who's heard anything about this? A few people, right? One of the countries that's very heavily invested and very interested in this is Dubai. Dubai is trying to do urban air mobility, kind of like air taxis, flying taxis that will take a passenger from place to place. Imagine what that could do for emergency rescue if someone has an accident on the island. We all know how that story goes here, right? So, but Dubai is doing this. So I'm not even saying we have to do this, but I'm just saying, how can we start to how can we start to think about all those things? How can we partner with these people to maybe build the structures, the engines, but be part of the story? Dubai was like us, 1950s, 1960s, and now look at what they're doing. This is an artist rendering, but again, UAM applications for making life better. Astro Space, what does that mean, right? When people think astro, I showed you the astronaut up there, but there are a number of applications relevant for our use, right? What's the big one that has changed life for us here on Earth that relates to space? What's the big one? What is it? We're going to have to be louder than this. What is it? What's a big one? Aircraft. But this is space now. What's the big one that is in space that has changed our lives? Satellites. Satellites for what? Whoever says this is getting the best gift ever. Internet is a big one. GPS. Internet and GPS. How many of us can't do without GPS now? That is space research. That's space work, right? Making life better. It's a big deal. Big deal. Who said the internet? You get the gift. I say, okay. I have one very special one for a girl. Very special. So I need my women here to be on it, okay? So, but yeah, satellites, GPS, it's a big deal. But here's another one. Who can guess where this is? I'm sure you're not going to guess, right? I wouldn't have been able to identify. This is Uganda. Using NASA satellite technology to figure out how to increase crop yields and improve production of crops. It tells them when to water. I think they even developed an app. It tells them when to water their crops and when to do all this amazing stuff. In fact, one of them said it feels like they're cheating on their ancestors that taught them when to water and everything. But the truth is climate change is here and things are different, and the tools they relied on they're not effective anymore, right? So, but this is Uganda. How are we watering our crops here? Can we contact someone, anyone in government here? We go to Uganda to chill and relax. Can we contact someone and say, how can we leverage this existing technology for us? Another one here. Who knows these pictures? Some of us might have seen these pictures before. But yeah, these are pictures. The top one is showing how packed the structures were in terms of vegetation and structure 5 days apart before we had that Boko Haram raise, and you can see the difference. You don't have to send anyone there to figure out if it's a lie or if it's the truth. This is satellite technology here, enabling and increasing the quality of life. So how do we enable this, right? One of the big things I want to share, which is what I'm doing today, is aerospace awareness, letting people know it's more than just manned space flight. It's more than just an astronaut hanging there in space. right? STEM engagement. So I do a lot of things in the United States, speaking to kids, speaking to, but I'm finding out that it's the same demographic of people that are applying for the same opportunities. I rarely see black people. I rarely see Nigerians. There are free things out there, and when I find them, I retweet them, I put them on my Instagram. Free funding opportunities for people, free scholarships, robotics competitions open to people everywhere in the world. STEM awareness, STEM engagement, letting people know how to get the skills to utilize the existing technologies that we have for our purposes. And finally, partnerships, right? You partner with people, ask questions, know what's going on. The International Space Station, the biggest collaboration in terms of like STEM and partnerships, is a multi-country endeavor. It has many, many countries participating, so you can't do it alone. If you see someone doing something or you're interested in, ask them and talk to them. And that's pretty much it. What I want to leave you with today is that everything is for everybody, and there isn't again, aerospace is not for one country, it's not for white men, it's really for everybody. We need that thought process, we need the diversity of thought. And I know I don't have time for questions, but if you have additional questions, please try to connect with me on social media, Instagram and Twitter. I have a LinkedIn, but I'm not great with it. I'm not even great with social media anyway. But please continue to connect with me. Keep those conversations going. Look for the opportunities to learn and think about partnerships. Techplus, thank you. Thanks for having me.